can I give you like the whole story of how the Smashing Machine came about?
Shit, yeah, man. Go.
Because this is a really interesting story.
I want to know how that doc got made.
So, yeah, it was 1999. I was 28, 29 at the time, right? And Mark Kerr, I wrestled with him at Syracuse. So he was my buddy. And I was following his career. He had just left the UFC. He had like a lawsuit. I don't know if you know about that.
No, go ahead.
He had some kind of lawsuit with the UFC because, he was the current UFC champ and he had signed a contract with them. And then Japan, the Pride people came over and offered him way more money. So then he jumped ship and went over to Japan.
For Pride.
Yep. And the UFC sued him and I don't know, they got that thing sorted out. But so, I was living on 47th Street and I would walk down to Koreatown and get the VHS, knockoff copies of the Pride events. And that was the only way I could watch it. So I put those things in my VCR and I'd be watching it. And I remember sitting on my couch just thinking, man, like this is incredible watching Mark dominate in the ring and knowing him as a human being.
Yeah.
It just like doesn't compute, right? So that right there, that kind of, inconsistency is what made me think, all right, this might make for a really good movie, And the other thing that I thought about Mark, like he was a dynamic person, right? So whenever Mark was involved in something, like shit would go down, be it good or bad, but like something dynamic. Like when I first went to Syracuse, my freshman year, Mark had been kicked out of school. Right?
Was he known as a fighter? Did he fight in the street at all? Did he?
Not at all. And I mean, we were on the wrestling team. There was a bunch of savages, dudes that fought all the time. And that was just not Mark at all. No, he was the guy that was like breaking it up. He was the guy that like, wanted to go eat mushrooms and watch the sunrise. You know what I mean? And I really think like part of what made our film work so well was the idea that like Mark was an athlete. Right, he was an NCAA champion wrestler, so he had all these physical skills that made him like the perfect MMA fighter.
Yeah,
but he didn't really have like a fighter's demeanor. Right, he's not a mean guy.
Yeah.
When you look at certain guys, I don't know, Vanderlei Silva comes to mind. Right, it's like these guys, they like hurting people, right, and they want to get in there and they really want to put an end to this fight. And that was just not Mark. And I really think that that's where like the drugs came into play, right? Certain things that he had to do. And I mean, you know about that. What's it like stepping into the octagon? What is that like?
Come on, man. To my credit, I didn't need any drugs to numb the pain. I'm not knocking Mark, but shit, man. I know, how about this? In Japan, it was almost encouraged from back in the day.
Yeah.
So, I always fought in the UFC. My first time meeting Mark Kerr was in Japan when I was going to fight in Pride. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know if you know about this. I talked about this on here before. Joe Hill Oliveira, he walked up and he got lit up by the pyrotechnics and he got on fire. So when I'm waiting backstage, how I knew, I'm like, well, it seems like we're waiting a long time. Mark Kerr runs up. And he comes up and, his voice is a little soft. He's like, Henzo's some doctor. Henzo, it's awful. He was on fire. And Henzo runs with him off. I go, what the fuck's happening? But that was my first introduction. The giant comes over. Like Henzo's some kind of fucking doctor. Henzo went over and threw a bucket of water on him. I don't know if that's a good thing. But anyway.
God. So did you end up fighting?
No, I ended up not fighting. Yeah. And I remember all the guys, I was so upset. But it's so weird how things work out. Like, I was so depressed about that and I was in such good shape. I'm like, all right, there's a Abu Dhabi 8-man tournament qualifier in Indiana at a hook and shoot, those old fights. I go, if I win that, I can get to Abu Dhabi. And I did. I went to Abu Dhabi, and that's how the UFC kind of found me. So it's good. It ended up all right. Yeah. But at the time, I was just pissed that I couldn't fight.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big deal back then. Pride was so cool. I mean, that was such a fun era. The Pride era was incredible. It was
when you
Japanese
went, it was just it was a wild time, man. It was just so new and exciting. When you chose to do this, and then all of a sudden he's destroying everybody. Mm-hmm. You get his first loss or DQ, whatever you want to call, because they just added the no knees. It was a weird circumstance, but he wasn't victorious. Did you feel it ended up being great? Not it's horrible it happened, but for Mark, for your buddy, but in the long run, it's more dramatic, and it led to that. It led to it made it better.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were confused. So what happened was, that all went down with Igor. And then after the fight, Mark is crying, right? You see all that stuff.
Yeah.
He gets in the elevator and he's like really falling apart. And then he's all messed up and he's just speaking about it in the most eloquent possible ways, right?
Yeah.
That's when he's talking about like the highs of this sport or
Yeah.
like no other highs in the world. 12,000 people out there cheering for you. And he goes through the whole thing. And I was just thinking, like, how is this guy doing this in this moment? Like, he's really a smart, very articulate, kind person.
Guys, let me tell you about my buddy's new online community called 3 Punch Convo. 3 Punch Convo is an online community for real MMA fans and pro fighters to interact. No toxicity. That's important for me. No toxicity. It's built from the ground up by 2 lifelong MMA fans. It's a way for fans to get closer to the action, hear behind the scenes insight from fighters, break down fights and matchups, and a lot more. No trolls, no bullshit, no toxicity. If you're a diehard MMA fan, or it's the best $5 a month you're gonna spend. There's no way what a value, $5 a month. They've got some awesome guys involved in it, including some of our guys. They got Naz Sadikov. They got Matt Steamroller Favola. Hey, man, those are my people. So head over to 3punchconvo.com. Sign up using code Serra to grab your first free month. Let's go. 3 Punch Convo.
Mark, right? So I knew, like, even there, I hadn't seen Mark in a while at that point. When we got to Japan, that was the first time I'd seen him in a couple of years. One, I noticed he was way bigger, right? Because when he was wrestling, he wrestled at 190.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we got there, he was probably 245, 250. So that was different. I also noticed he was sweating nonstop, right? So I was already thinking something feels a little off,
He was open about it, though, no? With the drugs.
So here's, in the beginning, no, right? I had no idea when that happened. But then after that loss, we went back to Arizona and we're like on him with our cameras. And, I'm already thinking, all right, something is off. Something's a little bit fucked up. And then Mark came to me. He sat me down and he said, Jon, this is what's going on. I'm addicted to this stuff called Nubane, and I'm shooting up like 10 times a day. And I can't do this with you guys. I can't have a camera crew following me around. Like, this is too much. So at that point, I went to Mark. I took his release form that he had signed for the film. I ripped it up and I said, here's the deal. You let us into your life, right? And you trust me, and just give us the whole shebang, show us everything that's going on. And then when this thing is over, at the very end, we'll sit down, we'll watch the film, and if there are things in there that you object to, we'll take it out. But
it's very trusting of him because he let you film it all. I mean, you see everything.
I mean, it's all credit to Mark.
It is credit to Mark, because who does that? Like, he was so open about it.
So then at that point, he said, okay. And then he said to me, tell the other Jon, get his camera and come into the bathroom. And that's when he shot up in front of us, right? Which in the film kind of takes your breath away, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, it's a weird situation. But then at that point, Mark, he goes through all his drawers. Remember, he's like throwing out all of the drugs.
Yeah.
He throws out all of the Nubane, and then we get in the car and we drive, and he throws it out in a big dumpster. So he's going to try to quit all of these opiates. So his plan, which is like the worst plan ever, he says, okay, everybody leave except Jon, me. So he wants me to stay in his house with him and watch him while he kicks drugs.
Oh.
So I'm going to stay there along with him. And I'm like, all right, this is probably a really bad idea, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to, help him get off drugs. So what we did was we set up a camera pointing to the couch, because that's mainly where he was staying while he was trying to kick drugs. And we put a piece of tape over the red light. And I told Mark, every once in a while, I'll walk by the camera, I'll turn it on. And then sometimes I'll walk by the camera, I'll turn it off. So he never knew
Yeah.
if it was filming or not that whole time while he was kicking drugs, which was really weird. And then what ended up happening, so I think he was somehow sneaking drugs during that time. I think he was maybe taking Vicodin or something, and I wasn't really sure, if it was working or not. Dawn ends up coming over, losing her mind, saying like, listen, I know he's doing something. I know he's doing something. So she's like going through the house, searching for drugs because she doesn't believe that he's actually trying to stay sober. Right. So all of a sudden she comes like running out of the bedroom with an empty bottle of Nubane and she sticks it right in his fucking face. And she's like, you're a liar. You're still doing it. Right. And Mark freaks out, dude. He picks up, he had this chair, it was like a medieval chair that he had gotten in Japan, picked it up, threw it through the window. There was this giant fight. We all scattered. We all left. Right. Crazy. And then at that point, I went back to the hotel. Mark stayed there with Dawn, and then that was the next morning we got a call from Dawn saying, exactly like it happened in their film, saying Mark wouldn't wake up. I couldn't wake him up, and he ended up like shooting up so much Nubian he OD'd, and the next time we saw him was in the hospital.
Let's bring it to Dawn for a second. Now you're his buddy.
Yep.
You're his buddy from college.
Yep.
When did you meet her? What was your first impression of her?
So I first met her in Japan at the Vovchanchin. Can I have one of those?
Shit. You like some Zen?
Yeah, what's the milligram?
Go ahead, man. Oh, this one's a little high.
What, how high?
Let's see. It says strong, and it's got 3 out of the 4.
Really?
But I put 2 in at a time, so don't worry.
All right, let's see what happens.
Blast off. Blast. Christian, open your mouth. Open your mouth. All right. But go ahead, man.
Okay, so like my first impression of Dawn, if you watch that stuff when she's there, Mark has his own, Mark has his own locker room. Normally it's like all the fighters are in 2 different locker rooms, right?
Yeah.
But Mark had his own because he was kind of a star at that time. And Dawn was there and, she was dressed in her almost stripper garb.
Yeah, man.
And she was covered in glitter and the whole place smelled like perfume. And like, I didn't have the impression that she was a bad person.
Yeah.
But I just thought it just seemed somewhat inappropriate. Like if you were trying to focus on your fight, it just didn't seem like this was going to be helpful in any way.
Man. You captured it perfectly.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt was great in the movie.
I thought she did a really good job. Out of everybody, like her mannerisms were perfect. She was Dawn.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh no, they captured it great, but you captured it great in the documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen everybody watching that, and you did exactly like they did in the movie. They did exactly like you did in the documentary, where he's trying to kick it. Well, what? Because you got a problem? I have to have. Everybody's got to, be like a straight and narrow. Like she was out partying. Talk about
that was all real.
That was real, man.
They nailed that stuff.
Oh man, sure. Like talk about not having his back.
Yeah.
After who I want to know who approached about the movie script. Who
so they first went to the director John Himes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they reached out to him to find out who owned the rights, and then there was like this big convoluted thing about who owned the rights and whatever. But we eventually got all that stuff sorted out, and, But yeah, like I said, I thought that they were making a movie more about Mark Kerr's entire life. I was not expecting something that was that tight to the documentary, but it's flattering. I'm glad that they thought enough about it to want to stay that true to it.
I mean, people, they don't even like fighting. Just the relationship alone.
Yep.
People have been in toxic relationships.
Oh yeah.
And that shit was toxic.
That really was, yeah. Because then, that part was very real in their film too, and in our film, right? Once he gets out of Sierra Tucson and then he links up with Boss again.
Oh yeah.
That was a really productive time period.
First of all, I love Boss Rutan. He's a great man.
Cool.
And he was great in the movie, and he was great in the documentary. He was the sensei. He was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start to deviate from that and you're calling the shots, and you see it in the documentary when he's like, well, what are you going to do for work? where are you going to get your work out there? Like, who's going to give you work? You know, I'll make it work. I'll figure it out. And it was that was the exact like conversations he was having in the documentary. Like, you seen he wasn't taking it as serious as he took his comeback fight after the loss.
For sure.
You know?
And yeah, in the documentary, it was like, dun dun. All of a sudden, you see like Dawn's boot at Boss's place, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of funny because people will say that in our film and in their film, Dawn kind of gets the short end of the stick a little bit. And I talked to Dawn about that because I felt really bad. So when I went to the premiere in Toronto, and I talked to Dawn because I had read about that in the press and
the premiere
saying that of the Smashing Machine, their film.
Okay, she's at the premiere and stuff.
Yeah.
How is she doing now?
I mean, Dawn seems pretty good.
Okay.
I think she's pretty. She's pretty happy about everything that's happening. Of course.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess so. I guess everybody's getting paid. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't know what those guys got paid, but I'm sure they did well. I would imagine.
Well, I mean, if she's gonna be okay with her, looking like a crazy beat. No, I'm only kidding. Right. Come on, man. Listen,
well, but I mean, like what I said to her was, it takes two to tango.
It does,
right?
and
so it wasn't only her, and I think like Mark, he was super sensitive, and there was like this pattern. He would break up with her before the fights and try to like get his shit together and try to train, and then when the fights were over, he would always talk about feeling like alone and vulnerable and.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Did you ever
safety?
You didn't feel any of that stuff, right? You were a savage.
No. Listen, we all been through relationships, man. They could, and then it hardens you, like you're losing a fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like but anybody that's been in a toxic, and sometimes a toxic relationship is just you're not compatible. It's not even that it's a bad person. That was brutal, man. But you could see and again, even in the movie and in the documentary, you see him getting irritable, and he even says it wasn't all her. Like he even says it. Yeah, I'm not attacking her. Listen,
no,
I mean,
no. But I do think like what she is correct about was like our film was about Mark. So after their fights and all of that horrible stuff, you get Mark's perspective on what went down, but we never really got Dawn's perspective on what went down because honestly, she wasn't around at that point. They had broken up.
I feel in the documentary you got a good amount of it where she's saying like, why can't I go out? You captured the meat and potatoes of it, man. You got some good. We seen her point of view. Like she wasn't exactly. If she really truly, I mean, she had her own issues, demons. Because if she had a problem. Because if she really cared about him and his career, she'd be like, all right, look, I'm not going to drink around you. I'm not going to come home drunk. I'm not going to. She would try to do the right thing, but. I mean, that's her own issues. I'm sure she regrets that or whatever. But let me ask you something because, again, Hollywood's Hollywood. I know she was there in Japan at that last fight in that tournament.
Actually, she was not.
Are you sure she wasn't?
For Fujita, she was not there. No.
When? But he had a bald head when she was staring at him. Like this.
Yeah.
Did he have a bald head before that?
Yes,
My bad.
That was in Arizona.
Okay, he wasn't in Japan. She wasn't in at the end. I could have sworn she was. Yeah. All right, good. You did the doc. You know better than me.
I do think like she came back into his life before that, and that's when he left Bosses. And I really think that was like the hugest mistake. And right when he fought Fujita, I don't know how well you watched that fight. Yeah. He fucking rocked
in the beginning.
Oh my God. I don't know how that guy was still standing. Yeah. I mean, he rocked him, and a couple of those knees against the ropes. I guess don't they call that guy like the Iron Head or something like that?
Well, they should. Yeah. He took a beating, but he was able to survive it.
Yeah.
And then Mark got tired.
Well, I think what he was doing was everybody knew if you're going to fight 3 fights in one night, you kind of needed to try to end them quick.
Yeah. No, I don't blame him for trying to get him out of there.
And
but
I think he blew his wad there.
And that comes to the preparation. You know what I mean? So,
which I don't think he was doing.
That's what it was. And that's what you captured great in the documentary. And I love, you did capture him when he did get back on the wagon before that. And I think they did a great job in the movie with "I'll do it my way." Yeah, I like that. They did the right. They used the right. The score was great. Like they put the right songs in the right parts. So, again, it's your documentary. There's some cool soundtracks. Yeah. They used him running up the stairs like you did with the vest on.
And the fucking same shots,
the same calves.
Yeah,
the same fucking.
And actually, I brought the costume designer came over to my house and checked out all my behind the scenes footage. And, you know, she was like taking pictures of all these different outfits that he was wearing, and all that stuff ended up in the movie. I'm like, I think those guys, they did an incredible job. The production designers and the costume designers, makeup, I thought all that stuff was really, really good.
Oh, no, it was fantastic.
I mean, one thing that I question, so they keep talking about that The Rock gained 30 pounds of muscle for that role.
Yeah.
Like, my question was, why? Like, he said in that interview, the CBS interview that The Rock did, he talked about being 290 when they were shooting.
Yeah.
And Mark was not that big.
Maybe he wanted to look bigger on the screen. He did look like Mark Kerr in the movie.
I thought he did.
I thought he looked great.
For sure.
I mean, that up the stairs thing, the you know, the way he's talking, you know, it was great. It was. Yeah. I think it's the only MMA fighter he probably could play. I mean, who's he play? For sure. He's not going to be Conor McGregor in a movie.
Right. And I just think, like, Mark Kerr as a person, he's just one of the coolest people you could ever meet in your life. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I think what Mark's, his real talent is connecting with people.
Yeah. He always seemed nice.
He's a nice guy. And when you talk to Mark, he's, you know, eye to eye. Yeah. And it's like you're the only person in the room. He has that talent. Like, I saw him last night after a premiere. There was a premiere at the MoMA. And then, you know, we went to some restaurant. I walked in. Mark was just sitting there by himself before, you know, all the people came to make a fuss about him. But, like, it's like you see Mark, you just want to give him a hug. Like, he's a good dude.
And to the credit, in the end of the movie, they got him in there, and he was like, oh, there he is.
What'd you think of that?
I thought it was interesting. I even told Christian after, I go, I guess it's not, he's just like unbelievable, like that type of thing. I'm like, I wonder why he keeps saying that. Is he just saying that about...
I didn't know. I don't even know what I thought about that, because it was so different all of a sudden going to the real person. Guy. Yeah, it just kind of was a shock. You know, it was a real choice.
Yeah, it was a choice. I didn't know how I felt about it. I still don't know how I feel about it. You remember I said that to you right after Christian? I was like, whoa. I'm like, that was kind of an odd. I felt that was an odd choice too. It takes you kind of out of the movie and into... I guess he's just a regular guy, they're trying to say? Like,
yeah, in a different direction. And I think they were really trying to give props to this whole group of people that had, like, built this sport from the ground up and really didn't benefit from it all that much.
Let me ask you, though, one scene at the end that got me. Does that all Hollywood? Did she really try to take herself out?
I mean, if you watch the doc, that's exactly where it came from. So after Mark loses, he does this little interview with us in the hotel where he talks about him and Dawn had this gigantic fight. And I think he like starts shaking his head and he says, like, she grabbed a razor and she started cutting herself. Oh, then she went and then he says she went and got my guns from underneath the nightstand. Oh. And then he just goes, thank God they weren't loaded. So, I mean, I guess that's where they built that scene out of.
And I guess, listen, she's involved. She's going to the premiere. She's not complaining about it. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dawn is a cool person. I really like her. And, like, you know, the thought that anybody could feel shitty about the work that we did and, like, maybe we didn't portray them fairly, that hurts me. You know what I mean? Like, that really bums me out. So I always try to, you know, I really want to talk to Dawn more about that, because at the very least, I want her to understand why we made the choices that we made.